Hey guys, Zynx here, and this video is intended to be a guide for preparation of raiding. Now, this is just going to be a general guide. There aren't going to be any class-specific tips and tricks related in this video. These are going to be things that you can apply to preparation for any bit of PvE content within the game, and they're going to be you're going to be able to use them at any point in time for any expansion or raid. Now I will put links in the description for every website and add-on page that I discuss in this video. And let's just get right into it. I'm going to be going through three main areas that I feel are the most important to consider when preparing to raid. The first one being class knowledge. Now I can't stress this enough. Knowledge of how your class works is absolutely paramount. This boils down to knowing your spells and abilities, which can be divided into two areas. The first of which I'll discuss is optimization. Now, optimization is just regarding what role you play in the raid. That is, knowing what buttons to push at what time to optimize your DPS at any given point in time. It's, how to burst down a specific set of adds, or how to raid heal properly, or how to tank heal properly, or just how to tank in general. Now, there are plenty of great guides on class mechanics and such all over the internet. Now, some of the more prominent ones you're going to find are elitistjerks.com, noxic.com, manaflask.com, even paragon.fi. I believe they're still running class guides. You'll have to check with them every now and then. Obviously, these are high-end raiding guilds. They got to try and make these things in between their raiding schedule, which is pretty difficult. And now the other side of knowing your spells and abilities is utility. And a lot of people underestimate the power that utility skills have within the raiding environment. A lot of people just generally associate utility with PvP only. And that's, it's not quite right. And I've got someone jumping over me. Okay. I actually know him. Now, utility is a great advantage to have in your raiding environment. Just solely because if you know your utility within your class, there is so much you can do for your raid group. And a raid group that uses a lot of utility will find their fights easier to manage. The damage will be easier to manage. They will progress a lot easier than the raid group that doesn't use a lot of utility. It's something that you can actually feel within your raids, and guides will also offer you opportunities to see in what situation would be best to use this utility thing. And again, there are things where you have to think for yourself on that. It's that's just knowing your class. Is just because you're not going to have a specific moment in time in a raid fight where something's going to pop up on your screen saying use damage mitigation or something. You just have to use your utility as you see best and to the best of the raid group. Now, next on my list is encounter knowledge. Now, second to all that is knowing the boss fights that you're going to be going up against. There are many great websites to go to and places to look at on the internet to find this information. Specifically, I'd definitely say YouTube. YouTube is going to be your easiest gateway to finding videos related to raid fights, raid guides, and such. The more prominent ones, again, being TankSpot, LearnToRaid, FatBoss raid guides. There are plenty of great ones. I mean, they're just ones that are done by just, they don't even have voiceovers. It's just maybe captions on the screen with a detailed overview of the fight. Some of them are just videos that people uploaded of the raid fight. Those are also good to watch. Now, the best advice I can give in terms of knowing or learning the encounter fights through these videos is don't just watch one. If you can, find a specific video for a raid fight and watch maybe two or three different ones of the same raid fight. That would be go to TankSpot, go to LearnToRaid, and go to FatBoss. Just watch all three of them because these groups are going to be doing different things. They're going to be having different raid comps. They're going to be, doing different things throughout the fight. They're going to have different ways of going through it. And it's the best way to learn the fight is to see how different ways can be used to get through the fight, relating to different raid comps. Now, beyond that, you're also going to need an add-on. specifically either DeadlyBossMods or an add-on called BigWigs. I know a lot of people use both. I haven't heard anything wrong about either or with regards to each other. I think it's really just a personal preference thing. They both do the same thing. There's a big warning in the middle of your screen. There are timer bars for the boss. But it's definitely a mandatory thing to have that. The next stage is character improvement. That's what I call it. This revolves around gear preparation. Now, what are you going to do when you first hit 90? You're going to finish off your normal stuff. You're going to get the eye level to get into heroics, and you're going to run heroics until your ass turns blue. Dailies outside of heroics to improve reputation. Now, dailies are an interesting thing because dailies are the only way right now that you can use your valor points. Dailies, you need to do your dailies to build rep with certain reputation or factions, sorry, which will then at a certain level let you buy valor gear. It relates to the level of reputation you are with that faction. Now the two mandatory ones would be Golden Lotus and Tlaxi right now, because those are the two that give you directly. You give them valor points and they give you pieces of gear, and that is what you need for raiding. Now the other one that is not quite as mandatory but still pretty important is the Tillers. Now the Tillers, you need to do the dailies for things called Iron Paw tokens, which are a currency for food ingredients that you need to make feasts for your raid. Now the other thing you get with them is a farm that you can use to grow ingredients, and that is a huge help with regards to making your own food. It's definitely something that you should work towards. Again, obviously once you get the eye level, you're also going to be running weekly LFRs for the gear. Keep in mind, LFR gear, I believe, is of a higher item level than your honored reputation valor gear. So keep that in mind. The next step of gear preparation is gear tuning, and this is where people get lost a bit. This is regarding gems, enchants, and reforging. Now, as with the previous sections, there are great websites to go for guides on this. In fact, your class knowledge guides that I spoke about earlier they'll have something about stat priority in there too, and stat priority is what you're going to use for your reforging. Now, in terms of gear tuning, I'll start off with gems. Now, gems will be primarily your main stat. If you are unable to reforge an unwanted stat into hit or expertise, then then you'll want to look for a hybrid gem to fill that minor amount, but that's almost completely unlikely to happen, or completely impossible. It's really very rarely the case. Beyond gems, enchants are completely mandatory. Yeah, do not show up to any raid night with any pieces of your gear unenchanted. I say that because it's not very costly at this stage. It really does not cost much to get your enchants done for all your gear. I know that wrists and weapon enchants right now can be extremely expensive. I don't think anybody's gonna go raging and kick you out of the group for not having a level 90 weapon enchant. But that is to say, don't show up without an enchant on your weapon. If you can't afford the level 90 weapon enchants, go for a level 85 weapon enchant. It's better than not having anything there. Yeah, it may just be like your weapon enchant is every now and then you may just get an extra gem in your slot, but it's better than nothing. Then we get to reforging. Now, reforging is where you'll make up the stuff that's the stats that aren't your main stat. That is your hit and expertise caps, and then your third best stat, shall we say. Now, the websites you can use to help you with this, specifically the class guides that you got earlier, will have those stat priorities that I was talking about. Now, the stat priorities are guidelines for reforging. They are there to tell you what you really want and what you really don't want. There are websites like AskMrRobot.com and WoWReforge.com that will actually load your character information from the WoW Armory and take a look at what gear you have, where your gems are, what reforges you've already done, and then it'll give you suggestions on what to reforge in order to get to your hit and expertise caps and get as much in your other stats as possible. Now keep in mind though, these are like, you gotta check for these stat priorities. You have to look at multiple sites for guides, because they'll all have different stat priorities, and you got to take a look at those stat priorities and choose which one is good for yourself. Now another thing is the Ask Mr. Robot and WoW Reforge. Incidentally, there's also an add-on you can get called Reforge Inator, which I've got here just to show you. It's quite simple. I believe it uses the stat weights from noxic.com. It's very simple. You select your spec on the top bar. You tell it whether to consider the items you already have reforged in its calculations, or to just only try and work the items you haven't reforged to what you've already reforged, and then you tell it to reforge for heroics or raiding or PvP. So it's nice, pretty simple there. Nice in-game thing, so you don't have to do the logging out thing if you want. And then it'll basically just give you this list saying, reforge this to this on every piece of gear and what to do. Now the main thing about these and those sites and that add-on specifically is don't just blindly follow what they say. They will often have some sort of problem in the stats that you could probably make up for. Like it'll probably have a couple stats here and there that you can probably have somewhere else that would be more effective or more beneficial to you. And I just reforged my gear according to an Ask Mr. Robot optimization thing, and it actually put me a little bit over the hit cap, which is what you don't want. In case you don't know how the hit and expertise caps work, primarily you do not want to be over the caps. You want to be at the cap, exactly on it, or as close to as possible under it. Because any percentage you have over the caps is essentially a waste. It is, at 7.5% hit on melee, I will not miss the boss. So any percentage over that I could spend in, I don't know, haste or something, which is much better for me in increasing damage output. So it actually, I did the Mr. Robot Reforge and put me a little bit over the hit cap, and then I reforged a couple other things away and put it back, and I actually got up to 7.5% hit on the dot and 7.52% expertise, which is a heck of a lot better. Like, that is just spot on, and I'm quite proud of that. So the main thing about that is don't just blindly trust what the websites say, and what the add-on says. You got to take them with a pinch of salt. You got to go in there and you got to work it yourself to get exactly what you want. And I mean that just goes all the way back to knowing your class. Like, you don't want to have a problem with stats and not know what to do about it. The main way to optimize yourself as a player, as a gamer, a raider, is to know your class, know what's going on. So I have no problem with with using things like the add-on, like Ask Mr. Robot and WoW Reforge. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Just know what to do yourself, if you don't have those things. Okay, I think that's going to do it for this guide. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you think I missed, if there's any questions you have. I'd be glad to answer them. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, thank you for watching, and keep your eye on this channel. I will be putting more content out fairly soon. Specifically Holy Paladin and Retribution Paladin guides. So again, thanks for watching. I'm Zynx. I'll check you in game.